Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to episode number 61 of the Lead to Greatness podcast, where we believe in helping others reach their greatest potential, and together we can change the world. Today on Lead to Greatness, we have Robert Clinkenbeard. If this is your first time, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and give us a big thumbs up. Robert is the CEO of the Radix Group, serial entrepreneur, and four-time IronMan, an amazing author of IronMan Mindset for Entrepreneurs. On today's podcast, Robert explains and discusses how to get an IronMan mindset for business, for your personal life, and as an amazing leader, and maintain it. Please help me welcome Robert with IronMan Mindset. This is Cedric Francis, and you're listening to Lead to Greatness.
From Edinburgh in Scotland. I grew up in Scotland, my whole life. Had some wonderful parents, had a pretty good upbringing overall. But I think, one of the childhood moments I think was a big pivotal part for me is that back in '98, I went, after having a year in Scotland where it was miserable weather, it was dark, it was gloomy, and I was actually going through a divorce. So, I was just like anybody else, I was just going through my challenges. And so a couple of my rugby friends said, hey, why don't we make a little trip? Why don't we go out to Scottsdale, Arizona? So, here I am going to Scottsdale, beautiful weather there in the winter. Right. And it was tremendous. Had a great trip. I was going skydiving. I was doing mountain biking because the weather was nice. But then I was going north and I was doing some skiing, some snowboarding. But, it was interesting when I got back from that trip back to the UK, I was sitting in my front room and the rain's bouncing off the window. It's cold outside. It's just really miserable. And I thought, well, what am I doing? Why am I living my life like this? I've got no opportunities. I've just been through a divorce. My parents are ashamed of me. And I started to think about my Scottsdale trip, and it was interesting because a lot of the houses there are beautiful houses, nice lifestyle. I was seeing Ferraris, I was seeing all these beautiful cars, and I'm thinking, what am I doing wrong? Why can't I level up? Because a lot of these houses were second or third people's houses. So, long story short, I quit my job. I said, you know what? I want to level myself up. I want what they want. I found that a lot of them were business owners. So in May of '99, I sold my house, sold my car, and I arrived in Phoenix. And, here I am thinking, I'm going to walk into Phoenix Airport. They're going to give me the American dream. They're going to give me $1 million to live the American dream. They're going to give me a nice hotel at the Ritz. Yeah. They're going to have a car ready for me, or a limo. Yeah, it didn't happen. So, it was like a ghost for me because I had no credit history. I didn't have a social security number. So it really took me from that moment to then that set the tone for my journey once I moved into the States. When I entered into the US, I was in a pretty deep, dark place. As I said, I'd just been through a divorce. My parents were, one was a knighted doctor, and one was a Presbyterian minister. So they were pillars of the community. And here I am, their oldest son, and just going through a divorce. I was playing rugby, which was great. I loved that team sport, and it kept my competitive spirit in me. But I was drinking. I was finishing the game, and I started to drink heavy. Even when I was not playing, I was drinking heavy. I think partly to drown some of the sorrows I had. Definitely in a really dark place. I felt lost. What started off, I figured out, I got my paperwork, my social security, all that in place. My background is landscaping, so I went to work for a landscape company. Working in Phoenix, you start at 5, 6 in the morning before the heat, working all day. But then I thought, well, that's not good enough. I'm not going to make good friends. I'm not going to get anywhere. So after I got home and showered, I then went out and went to networking events. I started to meet people through networking. I joined a local rugby club to make some friends. And I think by doing that on a consistent basis, and there were long days, eventually somebody asked me at a networking event, they said, well, I know you're working hard and you're doing a great job and learning a lot, but why are you not doing this yourself?
Mm.
And I thought, oh, okay. It wasn't even really part of my DNA at the time. But you're not really brought up in an entrepreneurial environment back in Scotland. So I started to think about that more, and I made that leap, left the business and started working some small landscape jobs. I worked pretty much from a small lockup. Used to get up at 3, 4 in the morning and go out and cut grass. And you imagine how tough that is in Phoenix. With the heat out there. And,
oh my goodness, yes, I've been there before. It's the weather's tough.
Oh, it's brutal, yeah. And I slowly just started to, I brought on a business partner, and we just started to make an impact. We started to do a good job on the quality of the jobs, but I think more importantly, I had some great relationships with people. I really followed through my commitments. The Scottish are known for being super hardworking. So I really just started to grind away, make a difference, get the quality up, and just started to really grow my business.
It's a couple of things you said. You talked about when you first got here, you didn't know anyone. So you began to network. You got into rugby. Here in the U.S., I mean, a lot of people don't know what rugby is. Can you just give us a small synopsis of what's rugby?
So rugby is similar, shape ball to American football, but there's no pads, there's no helmets, and the goal is to pass the ball backwards and retain play. So when you get down on the ground, if you're tackled, you want to shuffle that ball back to your teammates. So your teammates have to support you, and the goal is just to have continuous play to eventually when you score a try, which is like a touchdown. But yeah, it's pretty hardcore because, as I say, there's no padding.
Oh man!
It's everything's open for tackling. You can tackle pretty much anywhere. So yeah, it's a great sport.
Yeah, that sounds brutal. That's pretty awesome. So you began to network, and I kind of want to just kind of deal with that a little bit. So you didn't know anyone. You started playing rugby. So now you're networking and you begin to develop relationship. Was you looking for a certain type of people, or it's just kind of organically happened?
Yeah, I mean, my main target was commercial property managers. We skipped over doing residential landscaping first. So, there's nothing worse than going to those types of network events like BNI or something where everybody's just like handing cards out. We were, my partner and I were more focused on building those tier 2, tier 3 relationships with clients. So get to know them and their families and their interests. Mm-hmm. So getting them to know at that level. And once you build up some type of a level of trust, I never brought up business. I never brought up what I could do for them until they eventually asked. So it may have taken me 2, 3, 6 months to really build that relationship. I joined groups like BOMA, IFMA, but I didn't just join them and turn up. I joined committees. I joined, if there was different events, I'd maybe be on the event committee. So again, really just building that trust and really ingraining myself within that group.
I love this because, I mean, you went in, you didn't go in with a handout. You went in and, in a sense, serving the community that she was a part of. And I think that is really awesome. And I think, that really speaks to your personality, not getting something for nothing, because you have a lot of people with their hand out and, want, hey, come invest in me what I'm doing, but they don't want to, they don't want to be the first one to initiate it. So, and that is really great for you doing that. What made you do that? Because that's the way to go. It's just a part of your character. What happened?
I think it's just part of my character. I think in my nature, I just like to serve people. I just like to make people happy. I just, I like to follow through on my commitments. If I say I'm going to do something, then I will do my damnedest to do that. I think that I've just built into my nature. I never like to let people down. And, I think not only landscaping, but different industries, there's that trades, element where, they're not going to call me back, or it's going to take me 2, 3 phone calls to get in touch with somebody. And that wasn't us. That's not how we started our business. We like to just follow through, be professional, do great quality work, and then build our business that way.
That is awesome. I want you to talk a little bit about it, but I have a question following that. When you first began business, obviously, there was some mistakes made along the way. You didn't get it right the first time, but what was the game-changing decision you made to allow you to scale up your company?
We definitely made a lot of mistakes. At the beginning, we weren't very strong in the financial part, so cash flow was a huge issue to us. We would, many weeks we would try and figure out how we were going to make payroll, pay our bills. So yeah, those first few years, we definitely needed a lot of help. But it was probably, two main things, game-changing things that helped us with our business was finding great people. So yeah, I definitely had learned a lot, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to just rely on purely myself to take the company to the next level. So what could I do to hire people that potentially could be better than me? And so, yeah, it took me a while to find a good group of people. So, I remember distinctly being in touch with somebody who was a golf course superintendent. They were working 60, 80 hours a week. And I just talked to them and said, hey, interested in working less hours, potentially for the same pay, but moving into some type of a leadership position through my coaching. And yeah, they were totally on board. They wanted to spend more time with their family, and I was happy to get them to that point. So once I brought in that person, they were a catalyst in bringing in some other similar people. And those three people eventually became, again, it fulfilled my dream, it fulfilled what I promised them. So they became senior leaders within my company. They ran my branches, and they really took my company to the next level. It wasn't me. I just helped to put them not necessarily on the pedestal, but just put them into a position of leadership that they could take the company to the next level.
What is something, let's say you have an entrepreneur right now, they have a business startup and they're trying to get things going and they don't know who to hire and how to hire. What types of things should they look for going in? Should they be more concerned about the skill, looking for the greatest technician, or what should they be looking for?
I think first and foremost is their character, their personality. Because I feel, we again, it goes back to a lot of the mistakes we made. We brought in people who were, almost industry experts in the landscape space. But most of the time they came with bad habits. So again, we eventually went to the point where we said, well, why don't we figure out, let's look for the personality, let's look at their good traits, and then let's teach them the skills. Let's teach them, the technician part of their business. And that really went a long way with growing our business. Because we explained to our clients, we said, hey, we brought in some new people, they're great personality, but hey, just be a little bit patient with them on the skills part. We still have people within the company that can support the skills part and the knowledge. We still have it within the company, but the person you might meet might not necessarily know their skill set right at the beginning. So that was a game changer, and again for us, that we just brought on some really good character people. Because when you talk about, again, game-changing decisions, having a brilliant culture within the company can hide some of the gaps you have, some of the faults within the company. If you have that great culture, which is developed by ownership and by good people, again, that will really overwhelm any type of strategy you have.
I've actually I've seen companies, you walk down the hallway of the company, you see all these amazing core values. It's beautiful. You talk about teamwork, talk about integrity. But then when you look at the leadership of the individuals that's operating in the company, you don't see teamwork, you don't see integrity, you don't see trust, you don't see all these things. You mentioned culture. And I think a lot of people get it mixed up thinking the words on the wall, what's make the culture. How did you visualize and that vision turn into the reality in the culture of your company?
I think we did a pretty good job of really communicating the vision of the company to all of our employees. We would have regular town hall meetings with them, at a minimum every quarter. But I think what we then did is we then encouraged and empowered our team below us, that leadership team, to help us execute on that journey. So I think that empowerment and just getting out the way and allowing them to lead their team. But, going back to your point about culture, I mean, culture needs to be alive in your company. The core values need to be alive. It's not just something you stick on the wall and read. You need to reward people by stepping up and take care of a client or building trust. You need to set examples. You need to set example yourself. You can't, that you have trust as a core value, but meanwhile the owner's doing some shady things. Yeah. So it needs to be alive from throughout the whole company and give examples. And especially when you tie in the team sports part, I looked at the strengths of all the individual players. And then I figured out, well, how can I make them play well together? How can I make them create that team environment? Wow. So I just looked at almost like creating little mini pods to execute it again on my vision, on my plan. It's all very well to, try and get everybody aligned, but everybody naturally has different strengths and weaknesses. If you identify what those strengths and weaknesses are and try and figure out how can I best maximize who I have on my team and execute my plan, then you have to build in, again, going back to some of those practical things, have rhythms of meetings. For example, going back to my rugby days, I would encourage a daily scrum, huddle together. So team members might get together for 10 or 15 minutes and just talk about some of the wins from yesterday. And what are some of the things going on today? What are some of the things that we need to celebrate? So that was really, really powerful, is doing that daily scrum or daily huddle and doing it in different departments. And then that moves into doing weekly meetings. Have a weekly meeting. Maybe it's a stand-up meeting. Have a really quick agenda so you're following that consistent pattern every single week. What are the numbers you're looking at? What are the numbers that are making the company successful? Is it retention? Is it client complaints? Is it sales? What are some of those key metrics that you need to look at every week? And then, we'll have a larger meetings monthly. We'll have, more strategic planning every quarter. But it is a consistent pattern. It's a consistent rhythm of meetings. But make them fun, make them upbeat, make them, rather than, I'm going to another meeting, it's like, how can we make them engaging?
Right. I love it. I want to do this because you mentioned earlier, character, and a part of the character, is also attitude, which sums up to the mindset. So let's talk about that as far as IronMan mindset. What character, attitude are important for breaking through challenges? Because we know challenges is a real big thing in any business. It doesn't matter if you're doing good right now, there will be challenges.
100%. And it's not just business. We have our personal challenges. So I would say the first thing is lead into those challenges. I have a great phrase I quote all the time: only good things happen on the other side of fear. So if you see a challenge, steer away from it. You can turn around. But I usually find if you just lean into that challenge, take it head on, then you're going to come out of it stronger on the other side. You're either going to be successful by navigating that challenge, or maybe you get knocked down, but you'll learn from it. You won't make that mistake again. So lean into those challenges. Secondly, you're going to go through injuries. You're only going to go through lawsuits. There's things that are going to happen every single day at work. And again, you can go two directions. You can either just let them get you down, or you can just beat yourself up over those challenges, or just figure out, well, okay, the challenge is there. It's not going to go away. What can I do to work around that? Great example is, here I am, probably 8 weeks out from my first IronMan race. So I've been training for 6 months doing my race. I've been, 15, 20 hours a week. And I was in a pack of cyclists. There must have been 50, 60 of cyclists. And one of the guys fell down Slippy Road. There's a huge crash of cyclists there. So I went down, I badly injured my shoulder. So I'm thinking, here's my race coming up in 8 weeks. Do I pull out? I can't swim. My shoulder's damaged. So I thought to myself, well, I need to lean into this challenge. So I kept on training. I didn't do swimming because my shoulder had to recover. I got a coach to help me get some therapy around my shoulder, but I kept on biking. I kept on running. And my hope was to that, all the 6 months of training done beforehand, it was going to carry me through. And that mindset got me through it. I did my race in under 11 hours. There's so many people out there that hit that wall or hit that challenge and just have that negative mindset, and it will just start to play into the whole character. One example could be, maybe you have a key employee that you've been relying on for years, and somebody they turn around and say, I'm leaving, I'm giving you 2 weeks notice, and they're their best performer. They're your lead salesperson. You could just, again, allow that negative mindset to just, you could be in that doom and gloom, or you could say, well, again, that person's leaving. What can I do to either replace that person or get the rest of my team to step up? And usually you'll find if you have a really good culture and you treat your employees, find really quickly that the rest of your employees will step up. And I've seen that over and over in my company and other companies I go in and coach. They're given that negative situation. And then most of us are experienced lawsuits. So I've had multiple lawsuits issued against me for different reasons, and most of them we won. But you can either get caught up in that doom and gloom of some type of a lawsuit, or maybe it's an employee putting a claim against you. Again, if you get caught up in that negativity, that's just going to distract you from your goal of either growing your business, taking care of your other employees. So I quickly, I'm aware of that challenge, and I'll maybe delegate it to somebody else in my company, maybe your HR person, or maybe you just pass it off to your lawyer. But I'll refocus myself on how am I going to take care of all my other 300 odd employees? How am I going to go bring in more business and be more profitable and take care of everybody else, and not let a bad apple spoil everybody else? So we're all facing challenges. We all get knocked down every single day. So people take great pride in trying to knock down owners, but you just have to, charge through it and build that mindset.
What are some practical steps to in building that mindset? Because here's the thing. I mean, it's a challenge, and most people is like, okay, I know I need to wrap my mind around it, but it's like, how do I do it? And when you're in that dark place, I mean, it's just almost natural for you to just stop where you're at and just say, you know what, I'm done with this, and just throw in the towel and say, you know what, I will catch this next season, or I won't catch it at all. I'm done with this. This is not for me. Let's talk to that individual right now, whether they're in leadership, whether they're in entrepreneurship, whether they're starting the business and ran across some obstacles. Maybe it's financial problem. They don't have the capital to keep it going. What would you say to that person that's ready to throw in the towel and say, you know what, I'm done?
I would say, and I talk about this in my book, is making sure that you're surrounding yourself with great people, whether it be mentors, whether it be coaches, whether even just be other business owners. Because I find a lot of business owners, they feel as though they're on an island, just dealing with that one challenge, and they're the only person dealing with that challenge. Yeah. But we actually, I now deal with hundreds and hundreds of business owners, and there's a pretty consistent pattern there that they're all dealing with challenges. And I would say the majority of them are willing to share their experience and what they've gone through in the past and how they fixed it. Find out who you're surrounding yourself by. Do they elevate you up, or are they pulling you down into that negativity? Are the people around you just your friends in social life that don't have businesses, don't have those same challenges? Make sure you have same people and positive people that surround you to elevate you up and that you can lean on when you're going through these challenges. And then the other thing, I use a daily planner. I've got like an IronMan mindset planner. And one of the things I really make sure I do is at the beginning of the day, I have a gratitude section, and I start to list off 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for. Yeah. And that could be something positive in family. It could be something that happened to me personally. Maybe it's just I had a goal of going out and doing some type of long run. But what's something that, maybe I'm grateful for my health. So look at gratitude, but then on the back end of the day, when you're doing that close down, list the things that you've done successfully. What are your wins for the day? There'll always be wins. Be small wins, there'll be some big wins.
Yeah.
And those are the things that really keep you that positive, that IronMan mindset. Probably one of the biggest challenges I find is that, most business owners I find are just really hard workers, they're grinders, they come in every day and they go home at night and they're just absolutely exhausted.
Yeah.
But a lot of them haven't necessarily moved the needle because they're dealing with, I call it, they're almost pushing sand. They're not moving those big rocks.
Wow.
They're dealing with employee issues. They're dealing with customer complaints. And they're dealing with, they're using their inbox to map out their day. And one of the first things I do is go into a company, I'll say, okay, let's block, I call it QTBs, quality time blocks. And I'll say, let's block out an hour, maybe start off with an hour a week or a couple of hours a week. And then I'll try and encourage them to do at least an hour or two a day, where set aside some time on something to move a rock, something to move the needle in the company, whether it be getting a new client, whether it be to work on a strategic plan, maybe it's to secure some funding for the business. But unless you block off that time and try preferably be quiet time, so you're not disturbed by other employees,
right,
slowly take you out of working in the business to on the business.
Speaking on time, how were you able to train 20 plus hours a week and still able to run a $20 million business?
Hard work, a patient wife. No, it goes back to a point I made earlier where I was able to do that by bringing on the right people, the right leaders within that company that I was able to lean on. Yeah. So brought on these employees, I coached them into a leadership role, but I didn't just leave it at that. It was continuous coaching and development. But I gave them the framework to be successful. I gave them the vision where I was going. But I said, for each branch, here are some of your critical numbers or your key performance indicators that I want you to measure. It might be around revenue goals. It might be around retention goals. It might be around number of employees. So I gave them all the individual measures. I almost allowed them to teach their own branch to be like their own mini business. I just gave them the tools to be successful. And then all I did is then I came in and on a weekly basis and just checked in on them. And that allowed me to, I was out early morning. I was out at 4 or 5 in the morning. I was out on my bike or running, broke weight during the day for a swim. But it was only because I had confidence and put trust in my team to be able to manage the business. And rather than them coming to me and saying, hey, how would you deal with this problem? Or how do I fix this? What would you do? I'd flip it back on them and say, no, I want you to tell me how you would do it. What would you do in that scenario? So just give them that empowerment. Right. I might tweak them a little bit here and there, but empower your leaders.
That's a knowledge bomb. Wow,
there's so many options now available to business owners on a fractional basis. So you don't necessarily have to hire somebody full time. Why not? If you know you're weak in financials, bring in a fractional CFO that maybe comes in 4 or 6 hours a month just to strengthen up that part. Wow. I knew I was really struggling at the beginning with my business. So we had a CFO, fractional CFO coming in for half a day a month. And that was one of the things that, we were going, you remember back in 2007, 2008, when we were just about to go into that economic crash, we were doing a lot of real heavy construction, new build work. And he quickly told us that we were not making any money in that side of the business. So he kept hitting us over the head with a baseball bat saying, hey, you need to get out of this side of the business. And just when we were beginning to go in that downward spiral, we started to get out of that. We started bidding on those bigger jobs. And if we'd still kept on that path, we probably wouldn't be in business these days. Wow. So look at what are the areas that you need a little bit strengthening. And then who are the people in your network, or maybe you know a coach, maybe you know a mentor that you could just lean on a little bit.
I think a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners struggle with this, scared to show their weakness, scared to show the vulnerability. So I definitely appreciate you bringing it out. Robert, if someone wanted to connect with you and what you're doing, where should they go?
Yeah, there's two places they can go to. They could go to my LinkedIn, so Robert Clinkenbeard on LinkedIn, or they can just go to my website, the Radix Group LLC.com. They could look at my story, my journey. They could purchase my books. I've got a couple of books on there, or even if they just want to do like a free initial consultation just to see if I can help them tweak a couple of things. Happy to help. I feel as though I've been really leveled up, and that's my journey now. I want to help other people level up in their business.
Wow, that's awesome. So the IronMan mindset for entrepreneurs. If someone wants to grab that book, where should they go?
Go to the Radix Group LLC.com, or they can go to Amazon. Either way works. So yeah, it's got some great. It's a short read. It's 100 pages. Yeah, you finish it in a couple of hours. But some real good practical tips in there. Just we're all. It's been pretty tough for a lot of these business owners in the last year and a half going through COVID.
Absolutely.
And it's really timely that this book now is out there and helping people and getting through those challenges and figuring out a way to get on the other side of that fear factor.
That is awesome, Robert. On behalf of the Lead to Greatness community, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule and adding value to us.
Oh, thank you, Cedric. It's been a pleasure today. It's been really nice meeting you, and I wish all the best for you and your listeners and your community. Thank you.
And don't forget to subscribe to Lead to Greatness if this is your first time. And if this podcast was helpful to you, leave a big thumbs up. And also, I want you to check out our Marriage Coach podcast, the podcast with my wife and I. If you're on iTunes, please rate this podcast and leave a review and help get the word out. Again, thank you, Lead to Greatness Nation, for joining us on today. Looking forward to seeing you again on next week. Till then, remember, if you help others reach their greatest potential, together we can change the world. Peace. We out.